My story might seem hard to believe, and some might see it as pure fiction or even call me crazy. But let me tell it to you. Maybe you'll change your mind after hearing it. It all started when my family and I decided to get away, far from people, to enjoy the beauty and peace of nature. The place was incredibly beautiful and peaceful. Despite the damage to much of the house and the loss of many items, it still had an undeniable charm. The renovations we had planned were going to turn it into a true paradise. I couldn't wait for the day I would finally live in the place I had dreamed of since childhood. Let me describe the house when we arrived. It had 2 floors and looked like a castle from the outside. Flowers surrounded its walls, but they were neglected and needed a lot of care. So much so that the garden looked like a jungle. Just imagine how it would look after being trimmed. A vast garden, a parking space, and in the back a swing hanging from a huge tree. I bet it was older than the house itself. There was also a lake, or at least I think it was, with clear water I could swim in. Near the shore stood a small cabin, which I dreamed of turning into an art studio, a space just for myself. And that wasn't all. There was also a small room at the top of the house with a glass ceiling. The previous owner must have loved stargazing. In the basement, there was another room used for storing old belongings. Once we had moved all our things in, we started renovating. We painted the walls, decorated with fresh flowers, and the whole place started to look like a real palace. It was magnificent. I even placed birds on every balcony, and I can't describe the feeling of peace I had every evening. Sitting by the lake with a cup of coffee and the birds singing, it felt just like heaven. Our life became very pleasant. Even though the house was far from my school, I would come home around 8 p.m., and the few hours I spent studying were more than enough. It felt like the peace in nature helped me absorb information better. The days passed without anything special happening, but we all eagerly awaited Fridays. Not to go out, but because it was my music day. Every week I bought a new piano sheet and played it. Life was so beautiful back then, but life never stays the same. After the first semester ended and mid-year vacation began, that's when everything changed. It started when I decided to renovate the little room by the lake. I cleared it out, moved in my art supplies, decorated the walls. But then something strange happened. Behind an old wardrobe, I found strange, unintelligible words scratched into the wall, along with bizarre drawings, fingerprints, and odd symbols. I tried to read them, but nothing made sense. Nonsense. So I had an idea: to prank my friends by pretending I lived in a sorcerer's house. I laughed and took a photo. I posted it on my site, and my friends actually started to believe it. Then I completely forgot about it, until it happened. When school resumed, so did my routine. I spent most of my time in what I called my kingdom, that little room by the lake. My best friend would sometimes sleep over. We'd study, watch movies. It was perfect. One day we decided to watch a horror movie that had gone viral. We turned off the lights and watched it. Afterwards, we were laughing hysterically. Why are people even scared of movies like that? And suddenly, we heard a sound coming from the water. At first, we were frightened, but then we pulled ourselves together, grabbed a flashlight, and went out to see what it was. I swear, I thought I saw someone in the water. I quickly pointed the flashlight, but nothing was there. Then a tree branch emerged from the water. We laughed and went back to the room to sleep. The next morning, there was a bad smell in the air, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I went to university, and when I came back, my father asked me, "Didn't you see the dead cat in front of your room door?" I was shocked. When did it die? How did it get there? But I said nothing. I had too much to do. I always wondered why professors give us so many assignments to submit on the same day and leave the rest of the days empty. How unfair. I only slept for 2 hours before I had to leave for university, and I still wasn't finished. So I decided to grab some coffee to keep studying. As I stepped out of the room, I heard the same sound in the water. I turned around and felt like someone was there. I told myself, it's just exhaustion. I went to get my coffee, but when I came back, I found a dead bird in front of the door. I panicked. I went to get something to bury it, and when I stepped outside, I saw someone standing at the edge of the lake. place was dark. I thought it was my father. I walked closer, but it wasn't him. It was a man with a burned face, a terrifying sight. His face was bleeding, deformed, with no recognizable features, just two bulging eyes. Horrifying. I didn't realize anything until I was screaming in front of my father's room. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up in my bedroom and my father was beside me. He asked me what had happened. I told him everything. He calmed me down, told me it was just exhaustion and that he would help me finish my assignments. He even came with me to the university. I handed in my work to the professors and we returned home together. Things started to get worse. Every day I saw him, and I also saw dead animals lying in front of my bedroom. That's when I decided never to go back there again. But it didn't stop. He began following me everywhere, even showing up in my dreams, and then things got worse. One night, in a dream, I saw him running after me until he caught my hand. When I woke up, I realized my hand was burning. I screamed in pain, and my father rushed in to wake me. When I looked at my hand, there was an actual burn. But how could I tell my father? He'd never believe me. What should I do? What if he hadn't woken me up? Would I have burned completely, or would he have killed me? Why does he want to burn me? Does he want me to suffer like he did? But why? What did I ever do to him? A few days later, the burns on my body began to multiply. I became afraid to sleep. I tried to keep myself busy by talking to friends until I came across a strange website by a man who claimed to know everything. He spoke about symbols and signs that summon spirits. At that moment, I remembered the symbols I had seen on the walls of that room. I searched for the photo I had taken, printed it, and sent it to him with the question, "Do these symbols mean anything?" Unusually, it was him, not his assistants, who replied. He asked for my phone number and said we must meet in person, and I should bring the photo. We arranged a meeting place, and I went to see him. When he saw me, he simply said, "I want you to tell me everything that's happened since that night in detail." I started recounting the events, beginning with the prank I had played, but I didn't mention the burned man. He asked, "Is that everything that happened?" As if he already knew the truth. Suddenly he began studying my face, which clearly showed my stress. Without realizing I had placed my hand on the burn, he asked, "What's that burn from?" I couldn't respond right away, and just as I was about to lie, he interrupted me. "Has anyone else seen him besides you?" Those words hit me like a thunderclap. Did he know what was happening to me? Did he know what was causing the burns? I hesitated. He repeated the question. I said, "I don't know. The first time I saw him, my friend was with me, but I don't know if she saw him." He asked, "Did you read what was written on the wall? Were you the one who read it?" I thought for a moment, then replied, "Yes, I read it, but she wasn't there at the time. She came later, after the room had been painted over." His face changed immediately. He stood up quickly and said, "We have to go to her right now? Can you call her?" I said, "She hasn't answered for 2 days." He asked if I knew where she lived. I nodded. He grabbed my arm and said, "Let's go, now." On the way, he asked, "Does anyone live with her?" I said no. "And you?" "I live with my father." Then I asked, "What's going on?" He didn't answer, only said, "Call your father and tell him not to go near that room, no matter what happens." I asked again, "What's happening?" He just said, "Tell him now. We don't have time." I called my dad and told him to stay away. To make sure he did, I said I needed him to meet me at a place we were going to together. Half an hour later, my father called asking where I was. I told him to wait and that the place was crowded. We arrived at my friend's house. We knocked. No answer. But we heard moaning and smelled something burning. I looked at him, confused. We forced the door open, and there she was, in the middle of the room, on fire. We rushed to put out the flames and called the paramedics. When I tried to go with her, he stopped me. "There's no time. If you want to save her and yourself, we have to leave. Now!" We got back in the car. I asked, "What's going on?" "I need to know." He said, "You started this story unintentionally, but it seems that the one who lived in your house before died in a tragic accident. He performed rituals, what some might call witchcraft, to awaken his spirit. When you read those words, you brought him back. But he doesn't kill the person who revives him. He tortures them, the way he died. I said, so? He died in a fire? That's why I'm being burned. He replied, yes, he won't kill you, but he will keep hurting you. I said, what about my friend? She didn't read anything. He said, true, but she was with you when he appeared. That means her fate is death. I said, so she'll die and I'll keep suffering. He said, I'm here to help. We need to go back to the room where the symbols appeared. The paint doesn't matter, just show me. We returned. I showed him the spot. He started murmuring strange words. Then suddenly, as nothing, I woke up, alone in the same room. I called out for him. No answer. I stepped outside. Everything was different. The house, the garden, the lake, the tree. Everything looked smaller, different. Suddenly, I saw a man running toward me. I asked, what's happening? He didn't hear me. He ran into the room and locked the door. Then others came banging on the door, yelling, if you don't open up, we'll burn you alive. He didn't open, and they really set the place on fire. They tried to put it out, but they couldn't. His screams echoed as he burned. Eventually, they went in. He was dead. And when I looked at his face, my God, those same bulging eyes. But it wasn't over. They said they wouldn't go to jail for something they hadn't meant to do. They tied his burned body to a branch and threw it into the lake. But he was still alive, trying to move. They ignored him. He's doomed. He won't make it. And he drowned, tied to that branch, the same branch I saw the first time. Now I understand. Later, his father, at least I think it was his father, came back after the killers had fled. He searched for his son, didn't find him, saw the burned room, and he decided to bring him back. He did bring him back. They lived together until he died again. Then people grew afraid of buying the house, believing it was haunted, until my father bought it. I entered that room. I read the words, and everything began again. I came back to the real world. I tried to tell him what had happened, but he didn't listen. He asked, where is he? I said, in the water. He said, we have to bury him, but I can't swim. I looked at him. No, I can't face him again. He said, do you want your friend to die? For your father to see him and suffer the same fate? For you to suffer forever? I shook my head. He said, then what are you waiting for? I took a deep breath and jumped into the water. I searched and found him. I almost screamed. I came back up. He's here. He said, try to remove whatever's holding him down so I can help pull him out. I dove again. I untied him from the branch. We came up together, his face, his burned body, the blue skin from drowning, an image I'll never forget. We tied a rope around him, pulled him out, and buried him. It was over. I came back to tell my story, but one question still haunted me. Why didn't he appear right after I read the symbols? He said, he was watching you, waiting for your moment of weakness, for your fear. That's when he strikes. He's something evil, like a demon. But it's over now. He told me, forget all of this. But how can I forget? How can I forget when the burns are still on my hands? How can I forget my friend who didn't survive the fire? Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.